So, good day, guys, and we are the Group 7 reporters, and we are going to report Chapter 8, the Labor Management Relations. But before that, eat your breakfast and have a great day. Next, we are the members of the group. The first reporter is John Patrick Pajela. Second reporter, Kian Harvey Dizon. The third reporter, Alexica Pidot. And the last reporter is Nicole Balangue. And we are the Group 7 reporters. But before we start our reporting, this is a quotation by Aesop. In union, there is strength. Malalaman nyo kung ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin ng union. And ano nga ba ang kahalagaan nito sa ating mga manggagawa. So these are the table of contents or overview of our topic. And we divided it into 10 subtopics, as you can see on the screen. Now let's go to our first topic or subtopic, unions. What are the meaning and example of unions? So what is a union? A union are organizations of workers acting collectively, seeking to protect and promote their mutual interests through collective bargaining. When we say collective bargaining, ito yung proseso kung saan ang mga nagtatrabaho sa pamamagitan ng kanilang mga union ay nakikipag-usap sa mga kontrata sa kanilang mga employer para matukoy ang kanilang mga tuntunin sa trabaho, kabilang ang sweldo, mga benepisyo, oras ng trabaho, bakasyon, job, health and safety policies or protocols, mga paraan upang balansehin ang trabaho at pamilya at iba pa. So the most significant impact of a union on the management of human resources is its influence in shaping HRM policies. So when we say HRM policies, ito yung mga sinusunod na mga alituntunin kung ano ang diskarte sa layon ng isang organisasyon sa pamamahala sa mga manggagawa nito. Ito yung HRM policies. In the absence of a union, the company may develop all HRM policies based on efficiency. When we say efficiency, ito yung kahusayan ng mga manggagawa. But when a union enters the picture, management must develop HRM policies that reflect consideration for the preferences of workers who are represented by a union. When we say preferences of workers, ito yung mga kagustuhan ng workers na nakapaloob sa kanilang trabaho. A union's strong preferences for high wages, job security, the ability to express dissatisfaction with administrative action, and having a voice in the development of work rules that affect their jobs get injected into the equation along with the employer's preferences. So let's see an example of a union. So Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, TUCP. The Labor Code provides the Filipino workers with the right to self-organization, where they can form, join, or assist unions, organizations, or associations for purposes of collective bargaining and negotiation and for mutual aid and protection. So, ang TUCP or Trade Union Congress of the Philippines ay mayroong 480,000 members. And ang representative nito or ang kanilang head ay si Representative Raymond Democrito C. Mendoza ng 14th, 15th, and 16th Congress of the Republic of the Philippines. Siya ay representative ng mga yon. So next, topic number 2. Union objectives. Ano nga ba yung mga layunin ng ating union? So first, there are several objectives characterize the labor movement. These include first, to secure and, if possible, improve the living standards and economic status of its members. So yun ang unang objective or broad objective ng union. Mapalago at mapabuti ang economic status ng kanilang member, ng kanilang union. The second is to enhance and, if possible, guarantee individual security against threats and contingencies that might result from market fluctuation. When we say market fluctuation, it is a situation in which share prices go up and down. The second one is technological damage or change, I mean. And the last one is management decisions. So, dapat mag-guarantee na hindi sila masasakop nito or matathreaten ng mga ito dahil sa mga yon. The next one is to influence power relations in the social system in ways that favor and do not threaten union gains and goals. Ito ay isa sa mga several broad objectives ng isang union or labor management. When we say social system, it is a pattern series of interrelationships existing between individuals, groups, and institutions and forming a coherent whole or social structure. So yun nga ang isa sa mga broad objective ng union, to influence power relations in the social system. The next one or the fourth one is to advance the welfare of all who work for a living, whether union members or not. So yun nga, mapabuti ang kanilang kalagayan. The fifth and last broad objective is to create mechanisms to guard against the use of arbitrary and capricious policies and practices in the workplace. When we say arbitrary policy, it explains decisions made or actions taken that are not necessarily based on established facts, but instead based on opinions. Arbitrary decisions do not reflect accepted legal precedents, nor are they made with regards to existing facts or established circumstances. When we say naman capricious means pabago-bago. So, itong union na to, na-form, ang broad objective niya ay to create mechanisms para maprotektahan yung mga manggagawa, membro naman or hindi, sa mga gantong arbitrary and capricious policies na nasa workplace. So to accomplish these objectives, most unions recognize that they must strive for continued growth and power. So ito yung main objective ng mga union. First is growth. Growth means to maximize effectiveness. A union must strive for continual growth, but the percentage of union members in the workforce is declining. So kaya nga sinabi kanina, in union there is strength. So paano kung walang members, edi wala ring strength. Kaya they must strive for growth, for effectiveness para ma-influence nila yung kanilang workplace. Dahil nga kasali sila sa union. So union leaders are concerned because much of a union's ability to accomplish objectives, ito nga yung sinasabi ko, comes from the strength in numbers. Unions must continue to explore new sources of potential members. So the second objective pa ng isang union ay power. We define power here as the amount of external control that an organization can exert. So ito yung influence nila, yung power nila as a union to control the organization, exert a force to para masundan yung kanilang mga preferences. A union's power is influenced to a large extent by the size of its membership and the possibility of future growth. By achieving power, a union can exert its force in the political arena. So, yun nga. Next one. The third subtopic, factors leading to employee unionizations. So, paano nga ba nasasali yung mga employee sa mga unions na ito? So there are 4 types of factors play role in origin of employee unions. They are, first, working environment, inadequate staffing. So ito yung nga ba yung mga origin kung bakit nga ba sumasali ang mga employees sa mga unions. First, working environment. Ito yung mga inadequate staffing, mandatory overtime, poor working conditions. Kaya nga sumasali yung mga employees dahil sa gusto nila na magkaroon sila ng magandang trabaho at magandang working conditions. The second one is compensation. Kung ang isang firm or business or company ay hindi nagbibigay ng non-competitive pay, inadequate benefits, inequitable pay raises. Yan ang dahilan kung bakit napipilitan ang mga, hindi naman napipilitan, kung bakit sumasali ang mga employee sa isang unions. Next one, management style. Arbitrary management decision making, use of fear, lack of recognition. So, ito yung mga style ng mga organizations or firms sa pag-handle sa kanilang mga employees. Napipilitan ang mga employees sumasali ang mga employees sa mga unions dahil nga sa mga gantong gawain ng ibang firms. And the last one is organization treatment. So, ito yung job insecurity, unfair discipline, and policies, harassment and abusive treatments, not responsive to complaints. Yun yung mga organization treatment. Ito yung mga, for example, yung manager, hinaras niya yung isang employee. So, ang employee ay seek ng help sa union para matugunan ito. So, our fourth topic is why employees join unions. So individuals join unions for many different reasons, and these reasons tend to change over time. They may involve dissatisfaction with management, need for a social outlet, opportunity for leadership, forced unionization, and peer pressure. So a union is an organization that represents employees' interests or preferences to management on issues such as wages, hours, working conditions. Generally, employees seek to join a union when they first are dissatisfied with their aspects of their job. Second one is feel a lack of power or influence with management in terms of making changes. And lastly is see a unionization as a solution to their problems. So the first reason why employees join unions. First, dissatisfaction with management. Unions look for problems in organizations. So naghahanap sila ng problema na pwede nilang lutasin or kaya nilang lutasin. And then, emphasize the advantages of a union membership as a means of solving them. Management must exercise restraint and use its power to foster management and labor cooperation for the benefit of all concerned. So, there are some reasons for employee dissatisfaction, and they are described as, first, compensation. If employees are dissatisfied with their wages, they may look to a union for assistance in improving their standard of living. So, pag hindi non-competitive nga ang sinabi ko kanina, humihingi na ng tulong yung mga employees sa isang union para maging tama yung wage na binibigay sa kanila. The second one is job security. Seguridad na sa trabaho o pagkakaroon ng trabaho. If the firm doesn't provide its employees with a sense of job security, workers may turn to a union. Employees are more concerned than ever about job security due to a decline in employment in such key industries such as automobiles, rubber, and steel. The third one, management attitude. Employees do not like to be subjected to arbitrary and capricious actions by management. In some firms, management is insensitive to the needs of its employees. When this situation occurs, employees may perceive that they have little or no influence in job-related matters, thus becoming prime targets for unionization. So the next reason why employees join unions is a social outlet. Employees need a social outlet, and many people have strong social needs. Union-sponsored recreational and social activities, daycare centers, and other services can increase the sense of solidarity sa mga employees. The next one, opportunity for leadership. Employers often promote union leaders into managerial ranks as supervisors. So yun ang isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit nagjo-join ang mga employees sa unions. So kung makikita nyo, yan yung representative ng 14th, 15th, and 16th Congress ng Republic of the Philippines, at siya rin ang representative ng TUCP, Trade Union Congress of the Philippines. Next one is forced unionization. It is generally illegal for management to require that an individual join a union prior to employment. So, dapat hindi pilitin ng mga management na sumali ang mga employees sa mga unions. Pero, yun ang isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit ang mga employees ay sumasali sa mga unions. And the last one for my report is peer pressure. Ito ang isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit sumasali mga employees sa unions. Many individuals will join a union simply because they are urged to do so by other members of the work group. So, napilitan lang sila dahil nga.
Good morning, I am Kian, Harvey, Dizon, and I will be discussing the impact of unions on human resource management. Kapag sinabi nating union, hindi yan basta-basta firm na nakafocus lang sa profit. Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na labor union kasi pinaglalaban nila yung pare-parehas nilang goal, objective, which is yung to promote collective bargaining with employees over wages, working condition, working hours, and benefits, at saka yung job security. Next slide. Managers are more likely to develop HRM policies based on efficiency, but when a union is in the picture, policies must reflect employees' preferences as well. Kapag normal lang na firm, yung kapag usapan natin ay ang sahod, nakadepende yun sa skills mo. Pero kapag union ang usapan at sahod, sa may sahod naman, patas ang bigayan nila kasi nga pinopromote nila yung collective bargaining, which is yung nasabi ko kanina, yung patas na sahod, benefits, at job security, at saka sa may working condition. Papasok din dito yung employees preferences related to staffing, employee development, compensation, and employee relation. Kapag sinabi nating staffing, ayan yung offer sa'yo na specific job base sa skills at kaalaman mo syempre. Hindi naman pwedeng halimbawa science teacher ka tapos ilalagay ka sa accounting office. Hindi naman pwede yun. Pangalawa, employee development. Performance evaluation are rarely used in unionized organization. However, there's often a greater amount of worker training. Dito naman sa employee development, kapag sa union, syempre kailangan nila mag-provide ng sapat na training at dahil nga patas ang patakaran dyan, syempre pagtyagaan nung empleyado kahit matagal yung training, at least patas sa benefits, patas sa oras ng trabaho, patas sa sahod, job security. Sa may compensation naman, base sa na-research ko, mas mataas ng 15 to 20% ang sahod ng mga nasa union o yung unionized organization kesa sa hindi unionized. Sa employee relations. Sa unionized organization, kahit employee ka lang, papakinggan nila yung concern mo. If you don't like something at work, you can work together with your union to change it kung ano man yung ayaw mo. Bakit? Kasi nga ang union, they negotiate for everyone. Walang favoritism doon, hindi bias, lahat pantay-pantay. Kung binabalasubas ka ng mga mas nakakataas sa'yo, then pwede mo silang i-report because unions provide due process to protect you against sa mga loko-lokong may mga loko-lokong nasa taas ang position. Next. Pag sinabi natin collective bargaining, ito yung negotiation ng magkabilang party, which is yung employee at employer. Collective bargaining. Under a collective bargaining system, union and management negotiate with each other to develop the work rules. So, tulad nga nasabi ko, yun yung negotiation ng magkabilang party, employee at employer. Pag nagkaroon ng negotiation at maayos yung agreement ng dalawa about sa rules na pinag-uusapan nila, syempre magre-resulta yun sa magandang performance ng union o company. Next. Labor management relations and collective bargaining. Next. Bargaining structure can affect the conduct of collective bargaining. The four major structures are: number 1, company dealing with single union; 2, several companies dealing with a single union; several unions dealing with a single company; and several companies dealing with several union. Pare-parehas lang ng explanation yan. Pinagkaiba lang, parang padami lang ng padami yung connection mo sa company o sa union. Sa madaling salita, yung grupo ng mga employee at employers ay nakikipag-negotiate sa ibang kumpanya o sa ibang union. Bakit sila nakikipag-negotiate? Siyempre para ma-apply yung pagiging patas nga sa lahat. Dito naman tayo sa collective bargaining process. It is the process through which representatives of management and the union meet to negotiate a labor agreement. So ayun nga, obvious naman na yung negotiation between sa dalawang parties. Both parties, what is good faith bargaining in collective bargaining? First bullet, both parties communicate and negotiate, preparing for negotiation. Siyempre, kapag may negotiate ka, kailangan mag-prepare ka. Di naman yung hindi ka nag-prepare, may negotiate ka, di mo alam yung mga gagawin mo, kung mag-agree ka ba sa ganito, ganyan. Siyempre, kailangan mong kunin yung opinion ng iba. Second bullet, neither party can compel the other to agree to a proposal or to make any specific concessions. kailangan sa agreement ay magkasundo kayo. Kasi nga, walang magaganap na contract o agreement kung isa lang yung nag-agree sa negotiation nyo o sa mga pinopropose nyo. Last bullet, they match proposals with counter proposals in a reasonable effort to arrive at an agreement or ratify the agreement. Since meron na kayong proposal sa isa't isa, tapos kapag wala ng problema sa mga proposal nyo, syempre mag-agree na kayo nun, di ba? Ratify the agreement. Kapag okay na, dyan na matatawag o masasabing officially valid yung agreement nyo. Kapag wala ng problema, parehas na kayo nag-agree. Ayun lang po. Salamat.
Hello, I'm Mikaela, Alexica Pidot, and my topic is about the psychological aspects of collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is a process in which working people, through their unions, negotiate contracts with their employers to determine their terms of employment, including pay, benefits, hours, leave, job health, and safety policies, ways to balance work and family, and more. When we say collective bargaining kasi, we will form agreements and contracts that will benefit the employees as well as the organization itself. Since it is quite complex kasi you must consider both parties when attending to the needs and concerns of the employees. When executing the collective bargaining, both management team and the union team must prepare positions and accomplish certain tasks. Mandatory bargaining issues fall within definition of wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment. Ito yung mga issue na nagpo-focus tungkol sa tamang working hours at kung natanggap ba ng employee yung tamang wage niya. Permissive bargaining issues may be raised, but neither side may insist that they be bargained over. Ito yung issues na nasa labas na ng workplace at pwedeng hindi na i-bargain. Prohibited bargaining issues are statutorily outlawed. Ito yung mga issue na kapag nasama sa bargain, ay hindi ka tanggap-tanggap sa batas or hindi rin na-approve ng batas even if may isama siya sa bargain. A labor agreement or contract is a document that results from a collective bargaining. So we call a labor agreement or labor contract, yun yung document na nagre-result. So there's several bargaining issues. First is the recognition. Its purpose is to identify the union that is recognized as the bargaining representative and to describe the bargaining unit. Example ng union sa Pinas ay ang Trade Union Congress of the Philippines or TUCP. Pinaglalaban nila yung mga karapatan mo bilang empleyado, member ka man or hindi. Management rights, a section that is often but not always written into the labor agreement that spells out the rights of the management. If no such section is included, management may reason that it retains control of all topics not described as bargainable in the contract. Union security, its objective is to ensure that the union continues to exist and to perform its function. Dapat ang union kung nasaan kay hindi basta matitibag or madidisperse. Under this security, number 1 is closed shop. It is an arrangement whereby ang union membership ay obligated na sa employment. Number 2, union shop. An arrangement that requires employees become members of the union after a specified period of employment. Minimum is 30 days, or after a union shop provision has been negotiated. Number 3, maintenance of membership. Employees who are members should continue their membership until the termination of their agreement. Number 4, agency shop. Does not require employees to join the union, however, the agreement says that lahat ng non-union members ay magbabayad pa rin ng equivalent dues na gaya ng mga sa members in exchange as the bargaining agent. Number 5, exclusive bargaining shop. The company is bound legally sa union na may recognition, but employees are not obligated to join or maintain membership para mag-contribute financially. 6, open shop. Employment that has equal terms for union members and non-members alike. So, same treatment lang for members and non-members. Number 7, dues check-off. Companies agrees to withhold union dues from members' checks and to forward the money directly to the union. It means that the company at union na ang may usapan regarding this matter. Kung ano man payment ng employee, direct na sa union. So, compensation and benefits. Dito sa section na ito nakalagay yung different compensation and benefits. Such as, number 1, wage rate schedule. Unions that are able to obtain a cost living allowance or COLA in the contract in order to protect the purchasing power of employees' earnings. So, COLA is given to employees who are working away from home. Sometimes, nagdi-disguise ito as libreng matitirhan plus allowances or transportation fees. So, number 2 is overtime and premium pay. Provisions covering hours of work, overtime, and premium pay such as shift differentials are included. So, extended working hours, syempre, may bayad. Hindi naman pwede na you are working outside your designated hours tas wala man lang bayad. Ano yun? Thank you na lang. Example ng shift differential is when you work on a graveyard shift, meron difference sa rate mo from the others kasi iba yung working hours mo and mas mahirap yung shift mo. Jury pay, jury duty is when an employee is called to serve on legal panel of court and have the responsibility to contribute to a legal case. So, may bayad yon if you were able to contribute to a legal case na magbe-benefit sa'yo and sa management. Number 4 is layoff or severance pay. The amount that employees in various jobs and or seniority levels will be laid off or terminated. Number 5 is holidays. Holidays to be recognized and the amount of pay that a worker will receive if he or she must work on holidays. Normally, it is referred as a double pay. Vacation spells out the amount of vacation that a person may take based on seniority. It is when you receive sahod pa din kahit nasa vacation ka. Family care is parang insurance in which allowance is given for support ng family. I don't know if may ganitong benefit sa Pinas, but if you do have, big help to. Grievance procedure. This section contains the means in which the employees could reach out to the management into their specific concerns and dissatisfactions about sa action ng management. For example, binawasan kayo ng crew sa shift kahit na peak hour nyo yung mga oras na yon. End up, doble ang pagod nyo pero ganun pa din ang pay. Pwede yung nilapit sa management para baguhin nila yung mga ganong actions. Employee security is a procedure that covers job security for individual employees. Job security is a security na you will keep your job at meron kang contract kaya you are secured with benefits. Negotiating the agreement. The phase of collective bargaining begins with each presenting its initial demands. Ito ay give and take situation. Hindi lahat ng demands ay expected na mabibigay sa first proposal at ang tawag dito ay blockhead demands. Breakdowns in negotiations. Negotiations break down even though both labor and management may sincerely want to arrive at an equitable contract settlement. Several means of removing roadblocks may be used to get negotiations moving again, such as third-party intervention. A person from outside both union and organization can intervene para mag-provide ng assistance when an agreement cannot be reached and breakdown occurs. At this point, there is an impasse or dead end. So first is the mediation process. A neutral third party enters labor disputer when a bargaining impasse has occurred. Number 2, arbitration, process on which a dispute is submitted to an impartial third party to make a binding decision. Number 3, source of mediators and arbitrators. This happens when wala na talagang choice. Kailangan na ng mediator or someone who is in legal position to go in between. Union strategies for overcoming negotiation breakdowns. Sometimes a union believes that it must exert extreme pressure on management to agree to its bargaining demands. Strikes and boycotts are the primary means that the union may use to overcome breakdowns in negotiating. Strikes is when union members refuse to work in order to exert pressure on management in negotiations. That way, mapipilitan silang pumayag. Second is boycotts. Agreement by union members to refuse to use or buy the firm's product. The practice of union attempting to encourage third parties, such as the customers and suppliers, to stop doing business with the firm is a secondary boycott. Management's strategies for overcoming negotiation breakdowns. One form of action that is somewhat analogous to a strike is called a lockout. It is where management gives employees out of the workplace and may run the operation with management personnel and or temporary replacements. Papalitan nila yung mga employees kaya they are unable to work and do not get paid. Letter A, ratifying the agreement. Ito yung papayag na sila sa proposed demands ng both parties. Letter B is the administration of the agreement. This is the most important part of the collective bargaining, the administration of the agreement. Kasi, by this time is tapos na yung bargaining and implement na yung mga demands and needs ng employees. This is for my part. Thank you for listening.
So, good day ma'am and good day classmates. I am Nicole Balangue and my topic is all about the grievance handling under a collective bargaining agreement and in union-free organizations. So, ibig sabihin, ito yung pag-handle ng mga firms sa mga grievances ng kanilang employees under a collective bargaining agreement and sa mga union-free organizations. So, ano nga ba itong grievance or grievances sa isang organization? So, kapag sinabing grievance or grievances, this refers to an employee's dissatisfaction or feeling of personal injustice relating to his or her employment relationship. So, in short, it is a cause of distress where employees experience unfair or unjust treatment or actions by their management that violated the rights of an individual as set out in the collective agreement or law. And because of that, pwede siyang maging grounds for complaint. Examples nito are issues from their management's discipline, demotion, or ito yung pagbaba ng rank nila, classification disputes, or yung hindi pagkakasundo ni employer and employee, and denial of benefits, and of course, unsatisfactory working conditions. Well, kapag naman sinabi natin collective bargaining, this refers to the process through which representatives of management and the union meet to negotiate a labor agreement. So, in short, it is when the employee rely on a union member to represent them during the bargaining process or negotiations which often relate to regulating such issues like working conditions, employee safety, training, and wages. So, if employees in an organization are represented by a union, workers who believe that they have been dealt with unjust treatment, pwede silang mag-appeal through the grievance and arbitration procedures of the collective bargaining agreement. And kapag sinabi natin grievance procedure, it is a formal, systematic process that permits employees to complain about matters affecting them and their work. Ang purpose ng grievance procedure is to give the employees a way to raise issues with their managers about their working environment or working relationship. Itong steps of grievance procedure. So, unang-una dyan sa step is bring the grievance to your immediate supervisor. Kasi it is an informal resolution with your immediate supervisor. And as we all know, there is no need to escalate issues to higher authorities without trying to sort them out at the lowest point. And kaya nga tayo merong mga managers and supervisors so that they can handle some issues from their workers. And naku, hindi naman ganon kalaki yung issue and kaya naman nilang i-resolve with the managers or supervisors. Hindi na kailangan ipaabot sa itaas or sa higher ranks. And usually, most companies naman train their supervisors and managers to deal with the common work issues in a fair and unbiased manner. So at this stage, the supervisor should do all that he or she can do to resolve the issues within 3 working days. So yung pangalawa naman dyan is kapag hindi nag-work yung una, eto, escalate the complaint to the direct report of the supervisor. So dito naman sa second step, kapag hindi na nasettle sa first step ni supervisor ang issue, he or she may take the complaint informally to someone above, such as a line manager. And this can be done formally, although hindi na siya mandatory by filing the grievance form, and the issue should be addressed within 10 working days. And yung pangatlo naman is consider mediation. Kapag sinabi kasing mediation, this refers to process whereby a neutral third party enters a labor disputes when a bargaining impasse has occurred. So, in short, ito yung third party na nagsisilbing intermediary between the two parties. And usually, this is quite crucial in most companies' grievances procedures. Mostly, nagre-rely yung mga companies sa neutral external parties to mediate on a dissatisfaction issue in work in order to ensure impartiality. However, some situations do not warrant the use of mediations. Like for example, is when a manager turns to a mediation in order to avoid handling grievance. This especially becomes an issue when the complaint requires an investigation or a final decision about what is right or wrong. So, in these cases, mediation should be avoided. And yung pang fourth step naman natin is to escalate the issue to the HR department if the above fails. So, dito sa step na to, the employee has to write a grievance letter or fill a grievance form and submit it to HR department. The employee has to write this letter within 90 days from the time when the employee became aware of the grievance or of the grievance of their employees. So this means that any alternative steps that are taken towards a resolution have to be closed within that period. And once the complaint is lodged, the HR and the employer have 30 days to come up with a resolution with the employee. So yun yung fourth step. And the fifth step naman, or the last step for grievance procedure is consider appealing at a higher level in case none of the above resolution work. So this is the highest avenue for resolution. If all the other procedures fail, then the employee can go to higher external grievance body such as Council of Conciliation, Mediation, and Arbitration, or yung tinatawag nilang CCMA. So, dito naman sa arbitration, pag sinabing arbitration, it is the process that allow the parties to submit their disputes to an impartial third party or yung tinatawag na arbitrator for resolution. So, kung mapapansin natin, parang lang siyang mediation na kailangan ng third party to settle disputes. However, the only thing that makes them different is that sa arbitration, the private judge is in control of the process and the outcome. Whereas in mediation naman, the disputing parties maintain control. So, yun lang. And so, dito naman sa proof that disciplinary actions was needed, any disciplinary action as administered may ultimately be taken to arbitration when such a remedy is specified in the labor agreement. So, ibig sabihin, yung proof sa disciplinary action is dinadala sa arbitration to judge so that they can come up with a resolution or remedy. So, dito naman sa weakness of arbitration, the reason for the initial filing of the grievance may actually be forgotten before it is finally settled. Kasi there are no set standards for arbitration, making it difficult to find consistency. And aside from being forgotten, arbitration has no room for appeal. Ibig sabihin, kung ang decision sa arbitration, kung ano yung decision sa arbitration, that is final. Even one of the party feels that the outcome was unfair or biased. So, kung kanina, pinag-usapan natin yung grievance handling under collective bargaining agreement, ito naman is pag-uusapan natin yung grievance handling in union-free organizations. So, in short, ito yung non-union setting or employees who are not part of a union. Although the step-by-step procedure for handling union grievances is common practice, the means of resolving complaints in a union-free firms varies. So, ibig sabihin, kahit non-union setting ang isang organization, you can still have an informal complaint to your supervisor, or it can be in the form of writing a complaint to your supervisor or sa senior management. And even if you are not part of the union, it is also legal for non-union employee to ask someone to represent you fairly as it does to represent a union member. And you can ask the union to file a grievance if you are fired or disciplined, even if you are not a member. So now, let's have a view to the HRM department in a non-union setting. Employers who adhere to certain union-free strategies and tactics can remain or become free. So, ito yung mga strategies to remain union-free. Una-una is the effective first-line supervision. Extremely important to an organization's ability to remain union-free is the overall effectiveness of its management, particularly its first-line supervisors. So, dapat the first-line supervisor communicate regularly to their workers to avoid misunderstandings, and also dapat they are properly trained on how to handle issues in organizations. Second is the union-free policy. The fact that the organization's goal is to remain union-free should be clearly and forcefully communicated to all its members. So, dapat clear sa both employer and employee yung mga policies na ipapatupad sa organizations to avoid disagreements. So, next, effective communication. It is one of the most important actions an organization that wants to remain union-free can take it to establish credible and effective communication. So, sabi ko nga kanina, inline supervisors should communicate regularly to their workers so that maramdaman nila na belong sila sa organization, not just as a worker but also as part of the company. So, the next one is, of course, trust and openness. Openness and trust on the part of managers and employees alike are important in order to remain union-free. Ito yung isa sa pinakamahalagang bagay and at the same time pinakamahirap when it comes to relationship between employer and employees. It is to establish not only a trust but a deep trust and openness to keep the good relationship going. So, another one is the effective compensation programs. The financial compensation that employees receive is the most tangible measure that they have of their worth to the organization. So, of course, employees should receive the right amount of their salary, including overtime pays and holiday pays, because they deserve to reap what they sow. So, next is the healthy and safe working environment. An organization that gains a reputation for failing to maintain a safe and healthy work environment leaves itself wide open for unionization. Siyempre, the employer needs to ensure that the health of their employees is not compromised. In that way, they can prevent complaint from their workers and least likely to form a union in the organization. And lastly, the effective employee and labor relation. A means of resolving employee complaints, whether actual or perceived, should be available. So, of course, yung pinaka-importante sa lahat is building a strong employee relations strategy, because it involves creating an environment that delivers what people want. Because employees want to feel good about what they do and where they work. So, for our last topic, punta naman tayo sa phases of labor unions. So, kapag sinabing labor relations, it consists of the human resource management activities associated with the movement of employees within the firm after they have become organizational members, and include the action of promotion, transfer, demotion, resignation, discharge, layoff, and retirement. So, in short, it is the study of how employers and employee work together to create a fair workplace. So, under the phases of labor relations, we have the union organizing, collective bargaining, and contract administration. So, kapag sinabing union organizing, this is the most significant impact of a union on the management of human resources is its influence in shaping HRM policies. The presence of labor unions can change human resources procedures in a company. And in the absence of unions, human resources managers develop policies related to hiring, compensation, and benefits based upon their research and management's determination of business needs. And yung pangalawa naman is the collective bargaining. The performance of the mutual obligation of the employer and the representative of the employees to meet at a reasonable time and confer in good faith with respect to wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment. So, in short, ito yung negotiation between employer and employee in terms of their labor agreement. And it is where the So, lastly is the contract administration. The larger, the perhaps more important part of collective bargaining is the administration of the agreement, which is seldom viewed by the public. The agreement establishes the union management relationship for the duration of the contract. So, in short, Contract administration involves the implementation and enforcement of the collective bargaining agreement, and working to prevent conflict between labor and management is key to a successful administration. So that's all for my report, and I hope na pinpoint ko naman yung mga important information, and thank you for listening.